so much for joining us. My name's Alex Burstein, above midcourt here at Lane Sack. We are in for a fun one on this Friday night. Lane Sack and Perspectives, IIT/Joslin. There are two Perspectives. We're going with the full name and opening throughout the broadcast. We'll just be calling them Perspectives. But this is a very interesting Wolves team. It's their first ever season in the Red Conference. Anthony Davis went to this school, for those of you who know NBA basketball, but he never made it to the Red. A very impressive last season for the Wolves. They make it up to the Red this season, and now the goal, just stay in the top conference of the Chicago Public League. But they dropped their first one, and they'll be really hoping to get their first ever Red win here tonight against the Lane Tech champions. Lane, meanwhile, coming off of a rough game against Prosser. A lot went right in the forms of Dalton Scansbury and Shahid Salivo, but other than the scoring efforts from those two, a lot went wrong on Wednesday as the champions dropped their conference opener to Prosser. They'll be looking to get back on track here tonight against Perspectives as we reach just over 3.5 minutes. And just like that, it is almost time for hoops action here at Lane Gymnasium. Apologies, folks. I think our audio may have been slightly distorted for our pregame show here, but it should be good to go for the rest of the broadcast. We were just mentioning the starters, so we'll read through those once again. It'll be Nasir Graham, Josiah Harris, Jason Asante, Courtney Scott, and Adrian Ellis, the 5 on the court for Perspectives. They're coached by Waybon McConnell in his 10th season as head coach of this program. For Lane Tech, they go with their normal starting 5. Shahid Solibo, Jack Tsor, Lorenzo Aquino, Parker Williams, and Dalton Scantlebury, your 5 on the court, as Solibo gets announced to a loud round of applause here at Lane Tech. Lane Tech will be wearing their all-white home uniforms, going from left to right to start off tonight's contest. Perspectives with some very nice all-red uniforms with white lining. They'll be going from right to left across your screen to start off tonight's matchup, as they still are finishing off reading off the names here. Should be a pretty evenly sized matchup tonight. Perspectives is kind of like split down the middle. They have some very tall guys. They have some very short guys. Their tallest player is 6'6" in the form of Keith Collins. He's just a freshman now, so he's not getting the start tonight. Dalton Scantlebury will be the tallest player on the court. For the tip-off, he comes in at 6'6" himself. But we will see who the Wolves send to the circle. Lane Tech and Perspectives with identical records to start off the 22-23 season. 4-3 for the Wolves, 4-3 for the champions. They're both 0-1 in conference play, but one of these teams will escape Lane Gymnasium tonight with a 500 conference record. It's time for some Friday night hoops here from Lane Gymnasium. Lane Tech and Perspectives in Red Northwest Conference play. Lane Tech finishing up their huddle. They had a very rough night against Prosser. Seemed like not a lot went right for the champions. They get hit with a jumper made by the Falcons with 2.5 seconds left. End up falling in that contest by 2 points. They will look to rebound strong here tonight against a Perspectives team that, as we mentioned earlier, first season in the Red Conference for them, as it'll be Scantlebury in the circle alongside Asante, the star for this team. Scantlebury wins it, and we're underway from Lane Gymnasium. Shahid Solibo will take things up the court for the champions. He's coming off a 24-point performance, tied for his career high. Scantlebury goes to the basket and gets the and one. An electric start for the sophomore, who's been so very hot as of recent. As we mentioned, coming off a 16-point performance against Prosser. He gets to the line. I think one of the points that Lane Tech fell on Wednesday, Scantlebury had 3 fouls in the first 3 minutes. He did not play the second quarter, and one could easily argue that is why they ended up losing that game. So with Scantlebury back here tonight, that is a big back here with no fouls here tonight. That is a big addition for Lane Tech, as a long 3 taken and drained there by Josiah Harris. The senior guard gets his team on the scoreboard, and we may be in for a high-scoring contest here from Lane Tech. 3-2, 30 seconds into this one. Some pressure on Solido. Gets a screen to his left, pulls for 3. He had 6 of these on Wednesday, but he cannot make his first attempt here tonight, as we reach 45 seconds through here. Nice pass down low, going up for the 2. Missed there on the first shot from Asante. Big key for Lane Tech tonight's going to be stopping Jason Asante. Not a lot of teams this season that the Wolves have played have been able to do that. As Jack Tsor passes out to Williams. Williams pulls for 3, misses it. The junior Williams has had a rough game against Prosser. He's been one of the stars on this team for Lane Tech. Had just 2 points on Wednesday night. We'll see if he can come back here tonight, as Solibo in transition jams it down for the first dunk of the game. I'm not sure if that will officially be counted as a dunk. Kind of let go of it at the end, but either way, points on the scoreboard here for Lane Tech as they take back their lead 4-3 with 90 seconds through in the first quarter. They get to Asante, pulls for 3. His second shot of the night is off the mark, rebounded there by Williams. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Gymnasium. A great atmosphere here at Lane Tech, and one of the final weeks of the 2022 part of this schedule, as Williams turns this one over in transition, losing the basketball. There was Scott, and the champions will get it back. So the offensives have cooled down a little bit. They give it to Scantlebury, who loses it, gets it back, and gets fouled going up for his second shot. So he will head to the free throw line here for the second time tonight. Missed his first free throw attempt. We'll see what he can do his second time to the line here. Scantlebury was one of the bright spots from the free throw line this season. On Wednesday, went 8 for 10. Lane's really struggled with their free throws this year as he makes his second shot of the night to go to 1 and 2 from the line here against Perspectives and puts Lane Tech back in front by 2. If he makes this second one, it will be Lane's biggest lead of the day at 3. 5:52 to go in the first quarter, and he does. So 4 early points for the sophomore to give Lane Tech an early 6-3 lead over this Perspectives team. Running the point here is Nasir Graham. He passes it to the far side, and holding it will be Adrian Ellis. Haven't seen a lot out of Ellis here tonight. He's a very capable player, but misses his layup here. In the last 3 possessions, we've seen 3 misses combined from Ellis and Asante, probably the 2 top players on this Perspective squad. If Lane Tech can keep that up, that will be big for them here tonight. So Lebo trying to do some work on Ellis, and they're going to call a foul. That will be the 3rd foul called here tonight against Perspectives. One of the big problems for Lane Tech as of recent has been foul trouble. They got into it against Taft. They got into it against Prosser. No fouls through the first almost 3 minutes here of game time. So that's a big plus here for the champions as they get it out to Solibo, trapped in the corner. Scantlebury with a nice roll and finishes with the 2. Dalton Scantlebury on fire from inside the paint. He has 6 points here to lead all scores, and the champions with a 5-point lead, 8-3. This is a Lane Tech team that if you look at their record and you look at their losses, you may think it's going to be an average year, but if you actually really have to watch this team to see the potential they have. With Scantlebury, with Solibo, they've took some early losses that they want back, obviously, but this is a very capable Lane squad, and they're playing very well to start off the night as Lorenzo Aquino hits the floater. Gets Lane Tech to double digits, and it's a 7-point lead here with 4.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. Graham will take it up once again for Perspectives, who have not scored in over 2 minutes now. They'll give it to Graham in the corner. Their lone made shot is a 3, but they've missed 2 since that point. Aquino in transition finishes with the easy layup. He has 4 and a timeout called by head coach Wavon McConnell for the Perspectives Wolves. An excellent start here for the champions. They go up 12-3 here, a 9-point lead. The most they led by on Wednesday night was by 9. They matched that mark here in the very start of play, not even 4 minutes into this first quarter. And it's been a pretty balanced effort for Lane Tech. We have 6 from Scantlebury, 4 from Aquino, 2 from Solibo. So we've had 3 scores already for Lane Tech. They've done a good job all year long of kind of balancing out the scoring efforts. I was talking with the Lamont head coach yesterday, and he was saying one of the things he was impressed with, and they're going to have to stop against Lane Tech tomorrow, is just they have a lot of scores, and they're showing that here tonight with 3 scores with not even 4 minutes of gameplay through. We'll see what Perspectives can do out of this timeout. They're looking to avoid falling to 500 for the first time since the first week of the season. They went 1-2 in the RPS 205 Tip-Off Classic over there in Rockford. So they had an up and down start to the season, but they had won their first game before the Thanksgiving tournament. So they're yet to fall under 500 on the year, as Graham will keep the basketball. He's had it in his hands a lot for these last couple of minutes. Missed a shot on his last time down the court. This time he gives it down low to Asante. Working in the post on Scantlebury. An excellent move, and finishes with the easy 2 for the Loyola transfer to bring his team within 7. And we'll see what Lane Tech can do to respond to that here. 12-5 lead for the champions. 3:45 to go in the first quarter of action as Jack Soar works against some pressure. They give it top the key to Williams, who's still scoreless on the night. As he mentioned, had just 2 against Prosser. Almost turned over here, but goes into the hands of Williams, who cuts to the basket and breaks that scoring drought just as we're talking about it. brings the Lane Tech lead back up to 9 here. 3:18 to go, quarter number 1. Step back 3 on its way from Ellis. Missed, but rebounded there by Scott. Quick turnover here, though, to Lane Tech. Lane's defense doing a really good job of forcing turnovers here and making stuff happen off of them. Aquino gets his way to the paint, and what a move there from Lorenzo Aquino. One of the shorter, if not the shortest player on the court right now, but he finds the open space, hits the 2. He has 6 tonight, and the Lane Tech lead is at double digits, 16-5 here in quarter number 1. 2:45 to go. Right into the basket, missing it is Ellis. And Salibo will hold down the rebound and slow down the pace. We'll have 2 subs into the game soon for perspectives. Lane Tech has yet to put any subs into the game as Scantlebury pulls for 3. Nothing but net from the big man. We've seen him threaten with that shot a couple of times this year. This time he sinks it and moves the Champions lead to 14 here, 19-5. Just the start you would want to see if you're a Lane Tech fan. If you're a Lane Tech coach, very happy to see your team responding like that here against this Perspective squad. As Scantlebury with a steal in transition, pulls up for the dunk and lays it in. He fell hard to the ground after that one, but gets up smiling to extend the lead to 16. The student section here getting wild for this one. What a first quarter performance here for Lane Tech. 21 points for them and just 5 for the Wolves as Asante with his 3rd miss of the night. And if you're Lane Tech now, you might as well start slowing down the pace. No point in rushing the offense as Jack Soar gives it to Scantlebury. He's had 5 straight points. They feed it to Jack Soar, and now they'll reset the offense. Cross-court pass almost picked off there by Josiah Harris, but they will say it goes out of bounds, and the Champions will keep possession as Jackson Labcon checks into the game for Jack Soar. For the Wolves, Tomaje Wells and Jeremiah Benjamin, a junior and sophomore respectively, check into the game. So Aquino, Salibo, Scantlebury, Williams, and Labcon, your 5 on the court. Scantlebury gets it, pivots down low to Williams. 1:20 to go in the first quarter. Williams, nice move to the basket, finishes with the finger roll. Very nice couple of baskets here for Parker Williams out of the gate. He has 4. Lane Tech has had 4 players score already tonight. They have an 18-point lead in the first quarter, 23-5 over this Perspectives Wolves team. Under a minute now to play. Long 3 on its way. This one off the iron from Benjamin, and Lane Tech will take the rebound. They've not tended to hold for more than 30 seconds at a time at the end of the quarter as Salibo heads to the basket and falls to the ground. I think an encouraging sign here for Lane Tech. They're out to this really hot start, and not a lot of it is scoring from Salibo. He has 2 points. He had 1 basket, not being held scoreless, and obviously he's had effects in other aspects of the game. But Lane Tech is able to have this early lead without a lot of scoring from their star. Salibo misses his first free throw, and Braden Rosenkrantz will check into the game for Parker Williams. But definitely an encouraging sign there for Lane Tech as Salibo gets ready for his second shot. That one is up and good. So 1 for 2 from the line to increase the lead to 19 for the Champions. 40 seconds and counting to go in the first quarter. It'll be Benjamin bringing things off the court. Reverses it to the far side, trying to drive on Rosenkrantz. Getting stuck up there was Harris. Under 30 now to play. Long shot off of 1 foot off the mark there from Wells. So both the subs missed shots pretty soon after coming in. Rosenkrantz will feed it to Salibo. And Salibo now taking a couple of dribbles. 12 seconds on the clock. Looks like Lane Tech will hold for 1 final shot. He loses it here, and Lane Tech calls time out. I think Lane wanted to call time there. Instead, they're going to call it a backcourt violation. So the Wolves will get it back with 7.7 seconds. Lane Sack with the 19-point first quarter lead. We'll see if the Wolves can cut into it a little bit. Driving left-hand side, going up. Harris blocked by Scantlebury. He will hold on to it, and that is the end to a dominant first quarter from the champions. 24-5, they lead the Perspectives Wolves. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a second. You're watching Lane Tech Boys Basketball here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. We head to quarter number 2 of action here from Lane Gymnasium, 24-5. Lane Sack with the early big lead over Perspectives. I kind of expected this to be a close one. Both teams were 0-1 in conference play, 4-3 to start the year. They both had some good wins and some bad losses, but the champions have just looked like a brand new team out of the gate here tonight. And they will look to keep that going to start off quarter number 2. It'll be Lorenzo Aquino, Braden Rosenkrantz, Jackson Labcon, Shahid Solivo, and Dylan Pepper, your 5 into the game for the champions. Pepper making his first appearance of the night as Harris, the starter, puts it in the corner here. And a foul's going to be called on Aquino, as driving to the basket there was Jeremiah Benjamin. Something the champions did a very good job of there in quarter number 1. They did not let a lot of scoring come from the 2 top players on the squad, Adrian Ellis and Jason Asante. I think they combined for maybe 2 points. They're both going to start off this quarter on the bench as Perspectives tries a new look 5 here for quarter number 2. They've burned about 20 seconds off the clock on this first possession as Harris passes off their far side. Driving, Wells trying to put up his first 2 of the night, can't get to go. Pepper fell hard on the ground, and they will say he got fouled in the action of doing so. And Lane Tech will get the basketball back, looking to extend their lead to 20 for the first time here tonight. Lane has not been a first half or first quarter team this year. These last couple of games especially, it's been very slow starts out of the gate. 24 points in the first quarter, definitely an encouraging sign for the champions as a turnover here, but Lorenzo Aquino gets a rare block for the point guard here, and Rosenkrantz will pick up the basketball. So we'll see Parker Williams check in soon for Lane Sack. Aquino playing down low, gives it out to Rosenkrantz, but not before a travel is called here on the champions as head coach Nicholas Lagalbo tells his team to slow down the pace a little bit. They have the lead, don't want to have any silly errors like that as the Wolves will get possession back here, trailing by 19. Minute through here, quarter number 2 of action. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here for Lane Sack. It's been an exciting first 9 minutes of action for Lane Sack scoring-wise. We'll see what they can keep on doing as the 3-ball, air ball there from Josiah Harris. Perspectives made their first 3 of the night about 90 seconds into the contest. Since then, they have missed every single 3-point attempt as Aquino gets inbounded to Labcon. A full court press here from Perspectives is working very well on Lane Sack. And the champions are going to be forced to call their first time out of the night to avoid a turnover. It's going to be a 30-second timeout. So we've seen timeouts called by both of these squads early on. We saw one from head coach McConnell for the Wolves in the first quarter, and now one for the champions in quarter number 2 of action. Quick recap down the scoreboard, 24-5, Lane Tech leading here, 6:43 to go, quarter number 2. 5 fouls for Perspectives, just 1 for the champions, who have really done a good job of keeping the Wolves off the scoreboard, and they've just not sent them to the line or anything. This is a Lane Tech team that put Prosser into the double bonus on Wednesday, so they were fouling a lot. Similar things happened against Taft, but they've turned that around here tonight, and it's working well in their favor, as Parker Williams will check into the game. It looks like, as well as Drew Bartoli. So Aquino comes out alongside, I believe, Salibo. So it'll be Williams, Labcon, Rosenkrantz, Pepper, and Bartoli, your 5 on the court. 5 underclassmen, I think 3 sophomores here, as Rosenkrantz underneath the basket almost finished with a nice 2 there. But Perspectives, playing with a new energy, will get it back to bring it up the court. Driving right-hand side, they push it out here to Wells. Wells has had a couple touches on the ball, yet to score here tonight, as Pepper gets the block right into the hands of Bartoli, but his feet were on the baseline. So Perspectives will keep possession. Almost 100 seconds into this second quarter. We've yet to see either team make it on the scoreboard, and that will continue as 3 ball off the mark there from Benjamin. We've seen no one other than a starter score for the Wolves so far, as Pepper loses it. They're giving Scantlebury a little bit of a rest here at the 5 spot. Going to the basket and drawing the and one there is Courtney Scott, who will get on the scoreboard for the first time tonight and finally break that about 6-minute scoring drought for the Wolves. See if they can turn that into something, as the 6'6" senior forward will head to the free throw line. Really good athlete, has a lot of athleticism. He's played with the Illinois Stars IBA team for travel, so he's had some competitive experience outside of the high school level, as he misses the free throw here, and Pepper came out of nowhere to grab the rebound there. And now we'll go back to this full court press. Rosenkrantz having some trouble breaking it. Lane Tech probably cannot burn another timeout, but they're able to break it through Bartoli. Labcon wide open underneath the basket. Nice pump fake and finishes with the 2. Lane Tech finally gets on the scoreboard with 5:40 to go in this second quarter. First 2 of the night for Labcon, who on Wednesday had 3 points, but they were all off of free throws. So he has his first field goal made in a couple of games, as Ellis back into the game, drives right-hand side, but forced to pass it out. Still have not seen Asante check back in, and a blocking foul called on Rosenkrantz. Nice job there by Tomaje Wells to draw the foul. And I think we're going to see 3 starters check into the game here for Lane Tech. Asante comes in for Scott, and Salibo, Jacksor, and Scantlebury will check in for Bartoli, Rosenkrantz, Pepper, and Labcon. So they're actually missing a player. Labcon's going to stay in. Missed transition there for Lane Tech, but it will be Salibo, Scantlebury, Labcon, Williams, and Jack Sawyer, 5 on the court. So almost the entire starting 5. I think Lorenzo Aquino was supposed to come in as well. He was staying on the bench and will stay there for a second longer, as driving right-hand side, fouled again there, Ellis. And we'll see if they call that on the ground or not, as now Aquino checks in for Labcon. So interesting, Lane Tech has not gotten the offensive output that they really wanted these last couple of minutes, and as a result, they're going to put their starting 5 back into the game as Aquino checks in. So Scantlebury, Williams, Salibo, Jacksor, Lorenzo Aquino, your 5 on the court. As we mentioned, Ellis and Asante checked in for the Wolves, as Asante gets the inbound pass. They'll give it in the corner to Ellis. Under 5 minutes to play. Ellis pulls for 3, almost banked that one in, but Scantlebury grabs another rebound and gets fouled. That will be foul number 6 on the Wolves, and moves Lane Tech 1 foul away from going into the bonus here in the second quarter. Scantlebury had 7 rebounds against Prosser in 3 quarters of work, and Salibo called for a travel there. Some called for a travel against the Falcons as well. Uncharacteristic errors from the junior, but he's made up for it with some very impressive scoring performance. Just 3 points here tonight so far for the champions as Ellis gets the basketball driving in. Excellent move to the hoop and almost gets Perspectives to the double-digit mark. It'll be 26-9 here with 4.5 to play. Lane's defense has done their job, but we've seen some reduced offensive output, but breaking that streak will be Parker Williams. He has his third two-pointer of the night and puts Lane Tech back up by 19. We're going to see Kenny Rosario checking into the game momentarily. His first game action since against Bulls College Prep. As Solibo pulls down the rebound, and Jack Soar will bring things up the court. Corner three from Aquino, gets it to go. Lorenzo Aquino ignites the crowd with a three. He has the champions back up by 22. And looks like it was a good idea by this Lane Tech coaching staff to send the starters back into the game, kind of reignite it. And a turnover there by Tamaje Wells. If you guys could see that on the screen, he very interesting. He slipped and then was able to stay on his feet as Rosario will check in for Jack Soar. So a short outing there for the senior forward, and I'm not sure if the ball went out of bounds. I think it might have been a carry called against the champions, but either way, the Wolves will get the basketball back here, trailing by 22, 3:35 to go in the second quarter of action. Coming up at the halftime break, performances from the Lane Tech cheer and dance team as a three ball off the mark there from Benjamin. He's made about 3 3-point attempts, missed all of them. And on the opposite end of things, Scantlebury gets the cherry pick two, started running as soon as that shot was taken and had about a 10-stride advantage on any defender behind him to put the champions up to 24, their biggest lead here tonight. Scantlebury has 13 of the 33 for the champions. He's been very impressive here. Driving left-hand side, losing the basketball. There is Josiah Harris. And the senior will turn the basketball back to Lane Tech. 2:55 to go in quarter number 2 of action. Williams gets it to Solibo. Perspectives had some good success with the full court press against Lane Tech's kind of second string players, but since Lane has put in their starters, they've kind of backed off of that. And they're going to say this ball goes off of the Wolves, so Lane Tech will get the basketball back. As we mentioned, Lane Tech with a big game tomorrow against Lamont. They wanted a win here tonight to provide some momentum heading into what's going to be a tough task against the 25th ranked Lamont team. And so far, that is just the performance we have gotten out of the champions as Aquino gives it to Solibo and did a line drive pass there from Scantlebury. If he finishes it, would be great. Second chance, can't get it. Third chance, can't. And finally bringing down the rebound there. Some nice adjustments from Solibo, but does not end in points here for Lane Tech. Driving to the basket, getting the and one there. Tamaje Wells, who finally gets on the scoreboard after a couple of nice attempts for the Wolves, and he finally finds a way to score there, and we'll try to cap it off with a three-point play as Jack Soar checks in for Shahid Solibo. The foul was called against Scantlebury, but we'll see Solibo take a quick seat on the bench. Wells, just a junior, might have been a transfer from Little Village. I saw a player 2 years ago, from a tweet 2 years ago, Tamaje Wells for Little Village, and he was the same class as this Tamaje Wells. So maybe a transfer for this Perspectives team, who have had a couple of transfers come to this team after they advanced to the Red Conference this season in transition, trying for the floater, missing the shot here. And getting the rebound is Aquino, and a foul called on, I believe, Josiah Harris. That will be team foul number 7, and Lane Tech should be shooting here if they called an offensive foul. Referee blowing his whistle a couple of times. Jack Soar did not see him trying to get the basketball, and now it'll be Lorenzo Aquino shooting 1-1 here. As you mentioned, free throws have not been the hot spot for Lane Tech this year. Aquino did not head to the line to shoot a free throw on Wednesday night, but we'll see what he can do with his first shot here tonight. Lane Tech with a 21-point lead, and he just misses the first one. That one goes off the fingertips of Jack Soar, and Perspectives will get it back. You know, Lane Tech has been practicing free throws a lot since the year started, since the season started, not even just since tryouts, but they've still had some troubles with that here this year as we reach the under 2-minute mark to go here in the second quarter. Courtney Scott will check in soon for the Wolves. Lorenzo Aquino sends Williams in transition, takes himself, Euro step, finishes with the 2. Parker Williams having a nice redemption game. He has 8 points here in the first half. I believe the career high for him this year, 13, as an arching 2 off the mark, rebounded here by Williams. 90 seconds now to play. We'll see if Lane Tech slows down the pace. Williams almost threw it into a dangerous situation there, but nice job to pivot and give it to Aquino instead. Not as strong of a second quarter offensively here for the Champions as we saw in quarter number 1. However, they still have been able to hold on and actually extend their lead from 19 points to 23 points here. So we'll see Scott check into the game alongside Adrian Ellis, who had a seat on the bench. This will be a 1-and-1 from Jack Soar. He went 3 for 6 from the line on Wednesday, and he'll make the first one here for his first points of the night. It was a season-high 8 points for Jack Soar. He struggled scoring in a couple of games this season, but maybe a new era for him scoring this year as he will miss the second of the 1-and-1. And the Wolves will quickly push it in possession. Nice job by Salibo to, I think, punch the ball away there. But it will be picked up here by Wells. Driving to the basket. Can't get the and one, but the foul will be called on Scantlebury. And as we mentioned, this has been a concern for Lane Tech. Fouls with Scantlebury. He had 3 in the first 3 minutes against against Prosser on Wednesday. Had the sub out for the entire second quarter. I believe he's going to sub out here with 2 fouls. So Pepper and Bartoli will check into the game as Wells misses the front end of the 2 shots. Scantlebury will check out of the game alongside Jack Soar. They've been sending Soar in and out of this game so far. He's gotten decent minutes, but has gone to the bench, I think, 2 or 3 times thus far as well. As the second shot is up, and a perfect free throw there. Went into the basket just as you would like to see it if you're a basketball coach. Cuts the lead to 23 here. Lane Tech leading 36-13 over the Perspectives Wolves. Salibo can't get that one. And Perspectives will push the basketball, 50 seconds left. Wells goes straight to the hoop, can't draw the foul this time, but does get the basket. So he doesn't need the help of a Lane Tech defender. And looks like Wells may be trying to will his team back into this one. Pepper underneath the basket, playing in that 5 role for the Champions. Will punch it out to Williams. 30 seconds left in quarter number 2. Looks like Lane's going to hold for one final shot. Salibo holding it in the front court. Tight defense here from Wells. And Salibo will reverse it to the far side. 18 seconds now. Salibo, Pepper, Bartoli, Aquino, and Williams are the 5 available shooters for Lane Tech. They put it down low to Williams, who gets jumped on. And finally, a foul is going to be called. That will be team foul number 9. I don't think Williams was shooting there, so it should be a 1-and-1. Lane was doing a good job of killing the clock there. Killed almost 30 seconds, but with 9.3 seconds left, that will send Williams to the line. The foul was called against number 13, Courtney Scott. Shot is missed. Salibo tries to come down with the rebound. He can't. Clock is off and running. 5 seconds now. Wells gets it, loses it. Salibo heaves up a shot with 2 seconds. Wow, that one almost came in. Could have taken a couple more dribbles, but will not matter. Lane Tech with a dominating first half performance. They lead 36-15 over the Perspective Wolves. 9 points from Lorenzo Aquino, 8 from Parker Williams to lead all scores, both of them from Lane Sack, and just a great first 2 quarters of action here from Lane Gymnasium. We're going to send it down to the court for the halftime shows from the cheerleaders and the dance team, and we'll be back in 2 or 3 minutes to recap the first half of play and get you ready for the second 16 minutes of action here from Lane Gymnasium. Don't go anywhere. Your halftime score from Lane Sack. Lane Sack champions 36, Perspectives IIT Joslyn Wolves 15. Halftime here from Lane Gymnasium. The champions with a dominating first half. They take a 21-point lead into the halftime break. And if you've been following Lane Sac basketball this season, I think it's hard to argue that you have seen a better first half, or really any half, of the season out of the champions so far, as we welcome you above midcourt here at Lane Sac. A 21-point halftime lead for the champions thanks to a bunch of really good performance. And my apologies, I completely forgot to leave the leading scorer off of the leading scorers list. Dalton Scantlebury with 13 points. He ended the second quarter on the bench, but a very productive first two quarters from the sophomore, as we have just about under 4 minutes to go in this halftime break as we recap your scoring here from the first two quarters of actions. Tamaje Well leads all scores for the Wolves. He has 6 points to go along with 3 from Josiah Harris, 2 from Adrian Ellis, 2 from Courtney Scott, and 2 from Jason Asante. As for Lane Sac, they've had a pretty balanced scoring load here early on. It goes 3 for Shahid Solibo, 1 for Jack Tor, 9 for Lorenzo Aquino, 8 for Parker Williams, 2 for Jackson Labcon, and 13 for Dalton Scantlebury. So that is 3, 4, 5, 6 first half scores here for Lane Sac, and they will look to continue that into the third and fourth quarters of action here as we reach 6 p.m. local time here in Roscoe Village. We got started a little bit late, but not too late here, much earlier than Wednesday's game got started, so that's a good sign for the fans here. It's a busy night of action per usual across the conference here in the Chicago Public Red Northwest. All 5 teams in action tonight, and we'll read you through those matchups. Have not seen any scores. They were all either 5 or 7 p.m. tip-offs, so none of those games should have gone final just yet. North Lawndale was playing at Farragut at 5, or was traveling to Lincoln Park. Perspectives at Lane, that was this game. Westinghouse at Prosser, that's the lone 7 p.m. tip-off. And then Young taking on Clark on the road at Clark. So those are your 5 matchups. Taking you down the standings heading into tonight, it was Westinghouse at the top. They're 2-0 in conference play. Young and North Lawndale both 1-0. Farragut, Lincoln Park, and Prosser at 1-1 apiece. And then Clark, Perspectives, Lane, and Orr round out the bottom. They are all 0-1 in conference play, but Lane Sac looking like they are in good position to move to 1-1 in conference play if they can keep up what they did in tonight's game. As I mentioned earlier, this is the first of 2 games in 24 hours for the champions, and not even, it's more like 12, 17 hours. They'll be taking the court 17 hours from now, actually, exactly, to take on Lamont at the Team Rose Shootout. It's a loaded event, should be a lot of good games, and Lane Sac is going to be in the first game of the weekend. It's funny, the biggest event last weekend in probably Illinois high school basketball was the Chicago Elite Classic. Biggest event this weekend is the Team Rose Shootout. As you know, Lane Sac opened up the Chicago Elite Classic with a win over Taft. They'll be hoping to open up this weekend's big event with a win as well as they take on Lamont. But back to this game, just a very balanced effort from the champions. After 1 quarter of play, they led 24-5. They go on a 12 to actually that second quarter was, that second quarter was much closer scoring-wise. As I do the math really quickly, Lane only outscored Perspectives 12-10, but they really didn't have to do much scoring as they already had a 19-point lead heading into the break. They turned that into a 21-point lead after outscoring the Wolves by 2 in the second quarter. And now we will see how big they can run up that lead here in quarter number 3, as the Wolves are going to head to their bench without warming up at all. An interesting strategy here for Perspectives. Their coaching staff wanted to talk things over for the full 10 minutes here. It's going to be the starting 5 for Lane Sac coming in to start off this quarter number 3, that being Jack Shore, Shahid Solibo, Dalton Scantlebury, Lorenzo Aquino, and Parker Williams. And we will see if it's the same starting 5 for the Wolves. I cannot see quite from our view here, but we will check in a second. Looks like it is going to be Lane Sac basketball maybe, going from right to left to start off this quarter, as looks like they're going to break with not their starting five. Tamaje Wells starts, Jeremiah Benjamin starts, Josiah Harris, Courtney Scott, as well as Jason Asante. So kind of interesting. They leave Adrian Ellis on the bench here to start off this third quarter of play. He was held to 2 points in the first half, but still a very skilled player. But he will start off this quarter number 2 on the bench as they inbound it to Aquino. And we are underway in the third quarter of action here. So Lebo with a nice cut to the basket. Williams sinks about the 3. Now Jack Soar fires it up. Can't get it to go, but Scantlebury comes down with the rebound. Lane Tech wanted a foul there. They won't get it, though, as Perspectives does a good job holding the champions on the first possession of quarter number 3. They're going to need a lot more of those stops if they want to come back into this one. Driving right-hand side, putting up the 2. Missing it there was Benjamin. And both the teams scoreless to start off. We saw about 90 seconds of scoreless action to start off quarter number 2 of play. As Scantlebury to Aquino, and hits the 3, his second of the night. Starts off the scoring this quarter for Lane Tech. Lorenzo Aquino up to 12. He's been very hot and cold scoring-wise. Obviously, he's been a big part of this team every single game, but it seems like every game he's either scoring 1 or 2 basket or he's getting into double digits. And in those double-digit games, he's been a big part of the success for the champions, as a free throw shot made there by Harris to get the Perspectives Wolves back on the scoreboard. A very good atmosphere here at Lane Tech. More fans than I was expecting for this Friday night matchup, as losing the ball there. They're going to give it to Lane Tech. Shahid Salibo slapped the backboard on that block attempt. That's what you heard. This is a Wolves team that's going to have to play in a lot of hostile environments this year. They do not have any home games, no official home games. Their school does not have a gym that's able to be used for this. So for any of their quote-unquote home games, they have to head over to the other Perspectives campus, which is 7 miles away. And then the rest of their games are all away. So their head coach, McConnell, was telling me they have to get on a bus for every single game, as getting to the basket and scoring there is Scott to cut it to a 20-point lead. Lane Tech obviously in control, but Perspectives has cut this to a 20-point game. Lane Tech would love to get a quick basket here. They led by 21 at the break. Fadeaway jumper made there by Parker Williams. He is up to 22 points now. Excuse me, he's up to 10 points now, not 22. I was looking at the deficit. It's a 10-point game here for Parker Williams. He becomes the 3rd Lane Tech scorer in double figures behind Lorenzo Aquino and Dalton Scantlebury. As airballing the 3, now Williams in transition again, and he finishes with the 2. Back-to-back scores here from Parker Williams to go up to 12 points. Him, Aquino, and Scantlebury, 12, 12, and 13 points respectively, as the nice play there by Asante. He missed his first chance, but followed it up quickly. Now a turnover, and not finishing with the 2 is Scott there. Almost pushed it in for a basket, but a little too late. Aquino does a nice job keeping it inbound. Scantlebury down low, can't finish. Jack Soar threw it at the backboard. Lane wanted a foul there, won't get it. Now Scott misthrows it, and Perspectives will finally not play in transition as the 3-ball marked. Very impressive defense here from Shahid Salibo on the last couple of possessions. He's been in the right place at the right time every single time. Another person in the right place at the right time is Parker Williams. He scored the last 6 points for the champions, up to 14 to lead all scorers here tonight. And I'm trying to check my notes, but that very well may be a career high at the varsity level here for Parker Williams, as they swing it around the perimeter. He had 13 against Parker, 13 against Taft. And yes, I believe that should be a new career high for Parker Williams. Very impressive from the junior, as driving to the basket, missing the shot there was Wells, who's been quiet to start off this third quarter. 4:10 to play in this third quarter of action. Aquino in the corner for 3, misses it. Went off the top of the rim. They didn't, the backboard. They did not call it out of bounds. And now there'll be The Wolves trying to push it in transition as they get ready to send 2 subs into the game in the form of Nasir Graham and Cameron Smith, the 6'6 senior, I believe, maybe making his first appearance of the game. Saw Jackson Labcon come into the game for the champions. So those are your 3 new players into the game between these 2 squads. 24-point third quarter lead for the champions, 45-21. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Gymnasium, as Williams with some nice defense trying to get past him is Harris. He's forced to punch it back. They try to get to a cutting Wolves player, but right place, right time there once again. We've been saying that a lot for both these teams last couple of minutes. Some lucky shots for both of these squads. And now we'll see if Lane Tech can respond. Williams with the hot hand, hands it off down low to Scantlebury, who gets blocked from behind by Cameron Smith. The senior makes an impact right after coming into the game, as the Wolves look to cut this back to a 20-point lead. Still 11 minutes left of game time, but they have really not made any progress in the cutting into this Lane Tech lead. That's something you want to see soon if you're a Perspectives fan, as Labcon tries to bring down the rebound and will get fouled in the act. And that's actually going to be the first foul called in this third quarter. It took 5 minutes and 3 seconds. It was called against Nasir Graham there, but after we saw probably close to 40 fouls called on Wednesday night, refreshing to not see a lot here in this Friday night game, as Williams step back 3 on its way, finally misses a shot, and Salibo gets called for the over the back attempt at the rebound. I think in that case he just had a couple of inches over Wells and not see that he was arching over the player, but either way it'll be the basketball going back to Perspectives with 2:50 and counting to go in quarter number 3. Graham back on point guard duties here for the Wolves. Get in the corner. Wells with 6 points on the night, fires it off to Graham. Now left-hand side, trying to do some work there is Harris. They've done a good job shutting him down, and the awkward shot off the mark there. A foul was called. I think it's going to be on, oh, it is going to be a defensive foul. Thought for a second there Lane was getting bailed out by an offensive foul by the Wolves. Instead, they are going to say it goes back to Perspectives, as we see Ellis check into the game. Ellis is a very interesting player. This is his 3rd school in high school. He started at Uplift to transfer to Leo, I believe, and now has come here to this Perspectives team and trying to lead some success for this Wolves squad, but they've had some trouble here tonight, as a long 2, nothing but net there from Tomaje Wells. You've seen glimpses of success from this Perspectives teams. They do have some players who can make shots, but just overall they've not been able to put it together, as Williams to the basket again. He cannot be stopped. He is up to, I think that should be 16 points now. I mean, quite the night here, as they're going to swing it around the perimeter. Under 2 now to play in quarter number 3. We'll see Omar Bushalumfa check into the game soon for the champions. It's Pepper, Labcon, Soar, Williams, and Salibo, your 5 on the court right now, as Pepper brings down the rebound. Williams in transition again, spins out of it, but is able to pick up the basketball. Now Labcon, dead center 3, hits it! Jackson Labcon hits it from where he is best, and he has his first 3 of the night to double the score of Perspectives. A 25-point lead. That's the biggest it's been tonight for the champions over Perspectives. Working in the paint, Asante gets 2 of those back quickly. But the problem has been, and this is kind of what we saw Wednesday night, just in the reverse. Whenever Lane Tech scored, Prosser responded. Whenever this Perspective team score, Lane Tech has a response. Labcon can't make the 3 there, but gets his own offensive rebound. Salibo with the fake 3 behind the back to Pepper. He did not see that one coming. Would have been a highlight reel pass there, as Omar Bushalumfa checks into the game for Jack Soar, his first appearance of the night, and Javion Thompson, a sophomore, checks into the game. So we're seeing some Guys on the bench come in for both of these squads. 42.6 seconds to go in quarter number 3 of action. I imagine we'll see even more players come in the fourth if this result holds, as Braden Rosenkrantz checks in for Shahid Salibo, and possibly that will be the end of the night for Salibo. Not a super high-scoring night for the junior, but he did a really good job facilitating the ball. He's obviously one of the leaders on this squad, and this is going to be a statement win for Lane Tech if it plays out as expected, as Ellis gets bailed out for a quick foul there by Abushalumfa, who has the foul right after coming into the game. Early season injuries kept him off the court, Abushalumfa, for the champions, but he's been back for last couple of games, has had 2 or 3 minutes of playing time in a couple of straight contests. We'll see how much he gets in this one as he tries to fully recover from that injury. Ellis works it inside, driving right-hand side, putting up the 2 as Asante, and he gets fouled. So Perspectives with a couple of late baskets. They trail by 23, 25.5 seconds to go in this third quarter of action. So Asante gets ready to shoot the first of 2. Had a couple of really big games this year. Had 12 against Sullivan, 19 against both Northside and Harlem. 11, a double-double to start the year. But tonight, Lane's kept him to single digits. He's at 8 right now. See if he can get to that double-digit mark once again here tonight against the champions. Trying to make it 1 for 2 at this trip from the line, and he does. A perfect second free throw there from Ellis. Cuts it to a 22-point game as Pepper gets the rebound. And once again, when Lane gets their starters out, some of their starters out, Perspectives starts to press, and I think a foul's going to be called. Or no, it's going to be a timeout. So Lane forced to burn their second timeout of the night because of this full court press. The first time they were stuck in the corner. This time it actually looked like they may have had a chance at bringing it across midcourt in under 8 seconds, but the Lane Tech coaching staff doesn't want to risk it, so they're going to call a quick timeout. 4 of the 5 players on the court right now not starters for Lane Tech. It's Abushalumfa off the bench, Labcon, who's been the 6th man for the champions this season, Dylan Pepper, Braden Rosenkrantz, who have both been guys who have come off the bench, and then Parker Williams, obviously having a career night here, 14 or 16 points. I think the scoreboard may have missed him for 2, but either way, pretty sure that's a career high for him. He's had a very impressive night here tonight as Lane Tech looks to close out this victory. 16.2 seconds left in the third quarter. Still 1 more quarter to play. But Lane Tech in full control of this one. A 22-point lead for the champions. As we mentioned, they'll be back in action tomorrow against Lamont for an 11 a.m. first tip. So it's going to be a early morning after somewhat late night for these Lane players. Luckily this game has not gone too long, but some early morning hoops from Mount Carmel as Jackson Labcon gets ready to inbound things for the champions. Originally they were going to do it on the sideline. I think they're going to move it all the way down to the baseline there. So that's where Lane will start off this drive up the court. 16.2 seconds to get a shot off as Abushalumfa got the inbound and immediately got almost tackled to the ground there. That will be foul number 2 of this half on the Wolves. So they've done a good job slowing down their fouling here. But Lane Tech will keep possession. That took a couple of seconds off the clock. 14.5 seconds now. They get to Rosenkrantz. Nice play right back to Labcon. Breaks the press by himself to Pepper. Right to the hoop. Finishes with the 2. A beautiful move there from Dylan Pepper. Nice pass from Jackson Labcon. And that's exactly what you want to see out of these players, as a missed 3 to end the quarter from Nasir Graham. And through 3, Lane Tech still dominating here at Lane Gymnasium. They are 8 minutes from their first conference win of the year. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech boys basketball here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. 52-28. It's a 24-point lead for Lane Tech as we enter the fourth quarter of play here from Lane Gymnasium. I don't think we're going to have a running clock. Earlier against, I think that was Bulls Prep, they decided to do a running clock at 20 points instead of the usual 30. I did not see anything that indicated that that was going to be the case here tonight. So we will most likely play the full 8 minutes normally here, as it will be the same 5, it looks like, who break the huddle here. Lane's actually only sent 4, and now here comes Pepper. So it'll be Pepper, Rosenkrantz, Labcon, Abushalumfa, and Williams, your 5 on the court for the champions to start off this final 8 minutes of play. See if the Wolves can get a couple more points on the board. Nice cut by Ellis, and as I mentioned, he's a strong player, hasn't had a super loud night scoring, but he can have some crafty finishes like that as he gets his second score of the night. Abushalumfa just barely gets it, falls to the ground, gives it to Labcon, who tries to dribble through some defense, can't get it, but gets it right back. Now Labcon, 1-on-2, gets blocked, gets his own rebound, but he was stepping on the line. So a couple of errors there from Lane Tech trying to break the press, as Bartoli is going to check into the game for Abushalumfa. Bartoli, yet to score here tonight, has come in a couple of times here. We'll see what the sophomore can do. These games where Lane Tech is able to establish big leads through the first 3 quarters are really, really good for such a young team, because you now have on the court no seniors. All 5 of these guys are going to be returning, probably having big roles next year, and you get to see them really develop in games like this, as Bartoli gets called for the foul. Lane Tech with a 22-point lead, 7:07 to go here in quarter number 4 of action. See how many of these Lane Tech players get into the game. I think right now we've seen 11 players make appearances. They've only had 9 in the last 2 games, so they've already broken that. 15 players dressed for tonight's game, as the first shot missed here on the free throw attempt from Josiah Harris, the newcomer to this squad. He's had 3 double-digit games so far this year, but tonight he's been held to just 5 and make it 6 as he makes the second of 2 free throws. 52-31 now. They cut the Lane Tech lead. Rosenkrantz in the corner to Labcon, wide open for 3. He misses a shot there, though. Labcon still with that 1-3 made here tonight, but has missed on his last 2 attempts, as Ellis hands it off. 3 ball on its way, and a lot of these 3-point shots, they were a couple of inches to left or right. This could have been a very different game, but the Wolves had struggled here to hit their 3s tonight. Nice job by Rosenkrantz to avoid the backcourt violation. Now he'll pull for a 3 off the mark. I mean, I won't even say it was a great 3-point game for Lane Tech as well. Neither of these teams shot that great from beyond the arc, but Lane Tech was able to find other ways to score, as Williams takes the charge here. That's the first charge we have seen called all night. Takes them 25 minutes of gameplay to call it, but they do here at the 4th quarter. 6:25 to go mark. It was the 3rd foul called against Adrian Ellis, so a little bit of foul trouble for him, but should be fine with less than a quarter to go as they inbound it to Williams, and looks like Bartoli thought about bringing it up the court. Instead, he's going to get charged for the travel, and head coach Nicola Galbo not happy with that. And this is interesting. We are going to see Shahid Salibo come back into the game for Dylan Pepper, as well as Dalton Scantlebury coming in, not sure for who or when, but I thought that's all we were going to see from those 2 here tonight. The stars on this Lane Tech squad, they decide to give them a little more time, and Bartoli is going to get called for a 2nd straight violation. First was a travel, this time it's going to be a pushing foul. That will be his 2nd of the night, 5th of the half for the champions, as Scantlebury checks into the game for Labcon. So Lane now with 3 of their starters on the court, as well as Rosenkrantz and Bartoli. They're going to put Salibo immediately on to Adrian Ellis. I think that might be part of the problem. This Perspectives team has not put away their starters, so hasn't really fully allowed Lane Tech to put in their full bench. As shot missed, rebounded there. A nice offensive rebound from Jeremiah Benjamin. Cutting to the hoop, almost finishing with the 2 there was Wells. Ellis somehow came up with it and finishes the and one. Took a couple of extra bounces there, but gets the shot. And we'll get one more free throw to add to it here. 52-33 should be the score. They haven't added the points, but I imagine they say the shot counts there, as Kenny Rosario will check into the game for Braden Rosenkrantz. Rosario, one of the stars on the junior varsity squad for this Lane Tech team last year. He's had a couple of minutes in a few games this year for the champions. 52-34, lead down to 18. Should be enough, but we will see how Lane Tech responds to this, as foul called on Wells, who has the very tough task of guarding Solibo. It's interesting there. Solibo was put on Ellis, one of the top guys on this team, but they decided to put Tomaje Wells, who I guess is one of the better defenders, on Solibo. So some interesting matchup differences between how these two squads looked at the game, as number 5, Jaden Collins, the 5'9" junior point guard, checks into the game for the first time here tonight. Perspective still going with the full court press here. Be Parker Williams inbounding things and gets it quickly to Dalton Scantlebury here. And now Williams will bring things up the court. 5:50 and counting to go here in the fourth quarter of this conference matchup. Lane Tech looking to even out their conference record. Nice dish down low to Scantlebury, who gets fouled heading up for the 2. It's crazy how many free throws we see Scantlebury get. As you mentioned, he had 10 tonight, 10 on Wednesday. This must be his 3rd or 4th trip to the line here tonight. And just, I mean, that if you're a big man, that's what you're expected to do. Find ways to get to the free throw line, and that's exactly what he has done in his first season at the varsity level. There were some rumors that last year he was going to come up to the varsity level, but Scantlebury was battling some injuries. They kept him on the JV squad for the year. And then to this year, he's obviously been a starter the whole season for this team, and it's paid off tremendously. He's 13 points tonight. Knocked that 14. He had only scored in the first half, but now he gets his first second half points here as a turnover forced due to some nice defense there by Solibo. Ellis puts it a little far away from Harris's arm span to get that, and Lane will get it back quickly. Lane's had some troubles inbounding it here tonight, but they get it quickly to Williams. Pivot goes up for the 2, and that shot has been money from him all night long. He adds to his total, surpasses Scantlebury once again for the game high. And now they'll push it in the corner for the Wolves, and a kind of OBJ-style catch here from Drew Bartoli. Williams once again in transition, can't finish, and Solibo takes him 2 tries, but he punches that in with one hand. Just the athleticism on this Lane Tech team across really all the players is impressive, like much more impressive than what we've seen. I don't know if I'll say much more impressive, but it's definitely more impressive than what we've seen the last couple of seasons from Lane Tech. And I think that's why there is so much upside. They have size, they have athleticism, and if they can put this all together, this is going to be a fun team to watch in a couple of weeks. I know the Sun-Times did an article, and they were talking about how next year may be Lane Tech's year, because they have so many players who will be returning. They'll be returning at least, I want to say 3 starters here. Scantlebury, Williams, okay, 2, and Solibo. So yeah, they'll be returning 3 starters. And obviously there's been some non-starters, underclassmen who have had really good playing. But I mean, if you're Lane Tech, you also want to win games now. And they have a chance to do that on numerous occasions. Obviously they're headed towards a big win here tonight. And I think tomorrow very well could be a make or break point for this team. They're playing a top 25 Lamont squad, but it's a Lamont squad as we just start previewing tomorrow's matchup about 12 hours ahead of time or so. But it's a Lamont team that does not have a lot of size. Their tallest player, I was looking at their roster, I think 6'2", maybe 6'3". Lane Tech has a bunch of players over that height difference. That being said, they are very They're very speedy. They're led by 2 senior guards, and Lane's going to have to adjust to that speed tomorrow. But after this big win tonight, if Lane Tech can pull off an upset tomorrow against a top 25 opponent, I think that's going to change the way people around the Chicagoland area are looking at this year's Lane Tech squad, as Salibo gets it after the block from Scantlebury. One-handed pass to Rosario, who misses it, and trying for the rebound there was Bartoli. And it looked like he just threw it out of bounds, but they say it was punched out of bounds instead, as Labcon and Trevor Goodhart check into the game for Williams and Solibo. Goodhart making his first appearance of the evening. Goodhart trying to inbound it, gets it last second out to Rosario, who resets the offense. 4.5 to play here, quarter number 4 of action from Lane Gymnasium. Scantlebury to the basket, and once again, you can guess it, gets fouled. He'll head to the line to shoot 2. 14 points on the night for the big man. Just won this second half, but he will look to add to that total here. After Lamont tomorrow, Lane Tech has Farragut next Wednesday, West Aurora next Saturday, Ignatius 2 Tuesdays from now, and Northside 2 weeks from yesterday. And that's going to actually wrap up the 2022 slate of the schedule for the champions. They are not playing in a Christmas tournament for a couple of different reasons. They're in a lot of showcases this year. Not going to play over the Christmas break. They have one late game, but no tournament action over Christmas break. As this one thrown away from Bartoli. Gets it back, though, and will almost finish with the dunk. Gets the last-minute layup. We know he has some big dunking skills, but just goes for the easy 2 there. They get the lead back up to 26. But as we were saying, just 5 games left after tonight in the 2022 part of this schedule for Lane Tech. And we will see if they can win 4 or 5 of those. They'll be putting themselves in a good position heading into the 2023 part of this schedule. As a foul called as Rosario is bringing it up the court. That should be foul number 7, and Rosario will head to the line to shoot a 1-and-1 here for the champions. Giuliano DiFranco check into the game for Dalton Scantlebury. Franco has not gotten a lot of minutes this year. He was not here for the first week of the season, and a couple of these recent games have been close, but they will send the senior into the game as Rosario misses the front end of a 1-and-1, and the Wolves will get it back, pushing it. 4 minutes now to play, and a foul called driving to the basket. So after a pretty fast-paced third quarter, the fouls have kind of slowed things down in quarter number 4. It was now a running clock, which is what was really prolonging this. But Wolves trying to make the most of this. They trail by 26, probably a little bit too late for a comeback, but still trying to get as many players some red conference action, as the first shot was made there from Wells. Perspectives, meanwhile, after tonight, they're going to have 2 conference games next week. Nothing before then. They play at Prosser and at Farragut. So those are 2 games that this Perspectives team could contend in. We'll see if they're able to, as they try to get some early season wins to keep them in the red for next season, as Braden Rosencrantz gets ready to check into the game. So they play Prosser and Farragut, then the Chicago Military Academy South Shore International before the break, and then over break they'll be playing in the Pekin Insurance Holiday Tournament. Comes up starting on December 27th. They've gone into some competitive events this year, as Rosario gets on the scoreboard for the first time here tonight, first time in a couple of games for the junior. As Bartola is going to check out of the game here. We'll also see Caden Buford making his first appearance of the night. He's probably coming in for Rosario, and they're going to let the sub come in. They originally were not going to, because Perspectives played it in quickly, but now they are going to put Buford in. So the junior makes one of his first appearances of the season. I believe he might be one of the last players on this team to not score a field goal yet, so we'll see if he can get that as driving to the basket. Acrobatic finish there from Tomaje Wells. As we said, this Perspective team does not have a lot of quick in them. They've been playing hard the full 32 minutes, even despite the big deficits throughout the game. Lane got off to a big start. 24-5 was the deficit after one quarter, and it has kind of stayed the same here the rest of the way, as Buford will have a chance to get on the scoreboard here with free throws. Lane had the big lead in fouls given, but some late fouls here from Perspectives has actually putting the Wolves back in front. They've fouled 9 times. Lane only 8 in this second half as Buford misses the front end of a 1-and-1. Now we'll see what the Wolves can do. 3 ball on its way. Good closeout defense there by Goodhart. DeFranco trying to track down the rebound, and a jump ball is called. So 3:20 now to go. Seems like either a foul, jump ball, missed shot. Ball seems to be stopping on pretty much every single possession here, as Goodhart's going to inbound it to Buford. A relaxed full court press. They're still doing one, but not as heavy as we saw them do earlier from Perspectives. Rosenkrantz trying to pass it off, instead throws it away. Courtney Scott had the takeaway, and Rosenkrantz forces it out of bounds, but possession will stay here with the Wolves. 62-38 is your score. 3:06 to go in quarter number 4. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Tech. 3 ball on its way, just missed there by Tomaje Wells. Wells has had a lot of good looks here. Just a junior, he's going to be an impressive player the rest of the season and heading into next year for Perspectives. Rosenkrantz with a nice pass to DeFranco, who just can't finish. A nice look at the open basket. Tallest player on the court right now, but he cannot finish with the 2. Now driving right left-hand side, and a foul called there on Goodhart, who takes the charge, or takes the block, I should say. But usually after fouls, the Lane Tech coaching staff not happy, but we did not see any angry reactions from the Lane bench there. So they were okay with that foul taken by Goodhart, his first, the team's 9th of the half. So next team to foul will put the other team in double bonus, as first shot missed here from Scott. Courtney Scott, 6'5" junior, has had some big games, returning to the varsity team. He's just a junior. He makes both of them, and now it's Lane Tech off to the races. DeFranco, corner 3, misses it. Lane unable to pull down the rebound. Buford with some aggressive defense there, but will finally settle it down. 2.5 to play here. Still some fast-paced action. The 2 on its way, missed. Well, nice rebound here from Benjamin, who tries for a second time, misses it, and now fighting, ball on the ground. Somehow Benjamin comes up with it, misses on his 3rd chance this possession, and comes up with it again. Excellent effort there by Jeremiah Benjamin. Shot has not been falling, but he had about 3 rebounds on that one possession for his team. As another foul is going to be called, and that will put Lane Tech over the bonus. So Lane Tech wins the race to 10 fouls, or loses the race, depending on how you look at it. This was a shooting foul, but the rest of the way it will be double bonus for the Wolves. Only 2 minutes and 8 seconds left, so hopefully not too many of those fouls, but we will see. As first shot is up, and that is good from Jaden Collins, the 5'9" junior point guard. As Earl Washington, a 6-foot senior forward, checks into the game here for the Wolves, his first appearance of the night. Looks like the Wolves short a couple of players. I think they may only have 10 players dressed for tonight's game. They wanted to have I think they had 14 listed on their roster, so a couple of players not traveling or not able to play tonight, as DeFranco's going to slam it in transition. An excellent play there by Giuliano DeFranco. Quick response here from Wells. He hits the 2, but that got the Lane Tech bench fired up. After a couple of missed shots there from DeFranco, he wanted to have some offense, as Tommy Stone into the game misses the layup there. Rosenkrantz comes up with it, though. Buford underneath the basket will dribble things out. 90 seconds now to go. 64-44, driving to the basket. Goodhart misses it, misses again, and will not be able to pull down the score. So Lane Tech trying to get some guys their first points of the season. That's a nice in their face two hit by Courtney Scott. I will say these Lane second stringers have done a good job. There's some of these players for Perspectives who have been playing almost the entire game still in right now. As Scott takes it, stripped by Buford. Rosenkrantz to Buford in transition, finishes with the layup. Crowd goes wild as Caden Buford hits his first shot of the season. Lane Tech goes back out in front by 20, 66-46. And a quick response too. Apologies, folks. Our score bug just got reset here. 66-49, your score here. As Rosenkrantz might be trying to hold for one final shot. They tried for another pass down low to Buford. He misses it. And looks like the Wolves will get one final possession, trailing by 17 here, 25 seconds on the clock. Wells wastes no time, puts it in the corner to Scott, pulls for three and hits it. If they had a couple more of these threes earlier, it would have been a closer game, as they're still full court pressing with 13 seconds left, and a foul called here on Benjamin to stop the clock, or possibly the final time. Tonight we will see 13 seconds exactly on the clock. Lane Tech with a 66-52 lead here over the Perspective Wolves. This win's going to advance Lane Tech to 5-3 on the season, 1-1 in conference play. The Wolves will drop to 500 for the first time since the season started, and they'll look to get back on track in conference play. Still looking for that first Red Conference win in school history. They'll be trying to do that next week with 2 away games at Farragut and at Prosser. As the second free throw from Rosenkrantz is good for his first point of the day. Going quickly to the basket there is Benjamin. Tommy Stone almost had the big block there. I think it was him who got called with the foul. They are going to say there was too much contact though, and with 7.6 seconds left, it'll be Jeremiah Benjamin heading to the free throw line. As he mentioned, he's had a lot of good looks tonight. Really, the ball just has not been falling for him, but you can tell there is a bright future for the sophomore point guard. He's at 5'9" right now, especially if he grows a couple of inches, he's going to be a big threat for this Perspectives team. As second shot up and good as well. So 67-54, the lead for Lane Tech, as Rosenkrantz gets it to Goodhart, who should dribble things out, and he will. Lane Tech with a statement performance win over Perspective. 67-54 is your final. Double-digit performances from Parker Williams, Dalton Scantlebury, and Lorenzo Aquino on this Friday night. And Lane Tech gets just the confidence boost they need heading into tomorrow's big matchup against Lamont. We'll be on the air 10:55, bright and early from Mount Carmel as they take on Lamont in game 1 of the Team Rose shootout. But until then, a very fun night here from Lane Gymnasium. Lane Tech escapes with a big win over Perspectives. Your final score from Lane Gymnasium: Lane Tech champions 67, Perspectives 54. My name's Alex Burstein. Good night.